The ranch house held a tired silence, the kind that settled into wood and never left. Mary moved her broom across the floorboards in slow circles, dust rising and falling like weak breath. She had been cleaning since dawn, same rooms, same corners, same silence pressing at her ears. Outside, the wind dragged across the yard and pushed against the walls as if testing for weakness. Mary did not look up. She kept working. She liked the work because it kept her hands busy and her thoughts quiet. At least that is what she told herself. Then the house changed. A whisper slid through the floor like a nail dragged under skin. Mary. Her hand stopped mid-sweep. The broom tilted slightly, bristles scraping the wood. Mary looked around. Who's there? Nothing answered. Only the floor creaked beneath her feet. Don't turn around. Mary froze. Her breath caught in her throat. She didn't move. You're playing tricks, she said. I'm under you. The floorboards groaned beneath her feet. Mary stepped back. No, yes. How do you know my name? You gave it to me. The broom fell from her hand. It hit the floor with a hollow sound. I don't have a child. You left me. Footsteps approached from outside. The front door opened. Sheriff Hale stepped into the room. Mary? Mary forced air into her lungs. I'm fine. His eyes moved slowly across her face. You look pale. I said I'm fine. A pause stretched between them. You talking to someone? No, the floor creaked again beneath the house. He knows, the whisper said. Mary swallowed hard. Sheriff Hale glanced down. You hear things in this place? No, you should be careful. He stared at the floor for a moment. Then he smiled, slow and wrong. This land remembers. Night settled over the ranch like a closing eye. Mary stood alone in the kitchen after Sheriff Hale left. The silence felt heavier now. Mary. Stop. Don't turn around. Her fingers tightened on the edge of the table. The floor beneath her seemed alive again. I'm under you. What do you want? You. A long silence followed. Then the boards creaked softly. You left me. I don't understand. You will. Come back tonight, Mother. Mary stood frozen, staring at the floor. For the first time, she did not move. Outside, the wind pressed harder against the ranch, the windows rattled softly as Mary stood frozen, listening to the voice beneath her feet repeating her name again and again until everything in her mind went still except the whisper that said nothing. Night came to the ranch like a lid closing over a wound. Mary returned to the same floorboard she had scrubbed in daylight, standing now in the dark kitchen where every sound felt amplified. The air smelled of old wood and iron dust. She did not know why she came back, only that her feet had brought her here without permission. Then the whisper rose again. You came. Mary tightened her jaw and looked down at the floor. Show yourself. The voice answered instantly, closer than before. I can't. She stepped back once, then again, scanning the shadows. Why not? The silence cracked slightly before the answer came. They nailed it shut. Mary froze. Who nailed it shut? A soft dragging sound moved beneath her. Them. Her breath broke. Them who? The voice did not hesitate. The ones you trusted. The floor creaked like something shifting in a tight space. Mary pressed her hand to the table to steady herself. What is your name? A long pause followed, heavier than before. You never gave me one. Her throat tightened. I never had a child. The floor answered immediately. You did. Mary shook her head hard. No. I would remember. The voice turned colder, almost flat. You buried me. She stepped away from the table. That's impossible. The boards beneath her feet answered with a slow groan. You cried when you did it. A sound cut through the night outside. A horse shifting. A boot on gravel. Sheriff Hale's voice came from the porch. Mary? She turned too quickly, wiping panic from her face. I'm here. He stepped closer to the doorframe. Why are you out here so late? Mary forced her voice steady. Just cleaning. Inside the floor, the whisper returned, softer now, almost pleased. He knows. Mary looked down at the boards one last time, her breath uneven. Sheriff Hale waited outside, watching her through the doorway as the house stayed silent except for what lived underneath it. The wind pressed harder against the porch as Sheriff Hale stayed still, his eyes fixed on Mary through the doorway. You're shaking, he said quietly. Mary forced a nod. It's cold. He studied her for a moment longer. This place gets in your head. I'm fine, she said. The words came too fast. He didn't believe them. Neither did she. He stepped back from the frame. Lock the doors. I will. He paused again. Don't stay up too late. Then he left. Mary stood alone again in the kitchen, the silence returning heavier than before. The floorboards beneath her seemed still now, like they were listening. Are you there? She whispered. No answer came at first. Then softer than before. He lies. Mary closed her eyes briefly. What does that mean? Silence stretched again. He knows more than he says. Mary pressed her palm to the floor. Who are you really? The answer came like a breath. Yours. Her hand pulled back instantly. No, she whispered. The house did not argue. It only waited. Outside, the wind shifted again, carrying something like a distant child's breath through the cracks of the ranch walls as Mary stood frozen in the dark kitchen, knowing the night was not empty and the floor beneath her had already learned her name too well. Mary stayed there a long moment without moving. The kitchen clock ticked once, then stopped as if listening too. Somewhere under the ranch wood shifted again, but this time it did not speak. It only waited, with her breathing matching the silence that no longer felt like absence but presence and memory pressing up from below, until Mary finally whispered nothing back at all. Morning came to the ranch without softness. Light spread thin across the yard, exposing everything it touched. Mary stood at the sink, hands wet, staring at nothing. The water ran even after she stopped moving. She shut it off too hard. The silence after felt louder. Footsteps outside. Slow. Controlled. Sheriff Hale entered without knocking. You didn't sleep. Mary didn't turn. I did. You're lying. She finally faced him. What do you want? He looked around the kitchen like he was checking it. You hear things in this house? No. A pause. You should be careful. About what? He stepped closer. This land remembers. Mary's jaw tightened. Remembers what? His eyes stayed calm. Too calm. Women who forget their place. Silence dropped between them. Mary wiped her hands slowly. I know my place. The sheriff studied her face. Do you? She didn't answer. He leaned slightly on the table. You ever had a child, Mary? Her hand stopped. No. A small smile formed on his face. It didn't leave. That's what I thought. Mary's voice sharpened. Why would you ask me that? He straightened. Curiosity. You don't seem curious. His smile widened slightly. You'd be surprised what the ground keeps. Mary felt cold spread through her chest. What does that mean? He turned toward the door. It means people talk. Then they stop. Mary followed him with her eyes. Stop how? He paused at the doorway. Looked back. However I decide. He left. The house stayed still for a moment. Then the floor creaked softly beneath Mary's feet. Don't trust him. Mary whispered, I don't trust anyone. The voice answered from below. Good. Mary knelt slightly, hands gripping the counter edge. Why does he care about me? The floor answered slowly. Because you are remembering. I'm not remembering anything. A pause. You will. Mary closed her eyes. Outside, the wind dragged across the yard again. A horse snorted somewhere distant. Sheriff Hale stood by his fence, watching the house without moving. His expression was unreadable, but his eyes stayed fixed like he was waiting for something buried to speak first. Back inside, Mary whispered, What did he mean, women who forget? The floor creaked once. Then, you were not the first he asked that. Mary's breath caught. Who else? Silence. Then softer, many. Mary stood very still, the kitchen feeling the air tighten around her chest like something closing in. She whispered again, Why me? The floor did not answer immediately, then a slow drag beneath the boards. Because you were closest. Mary shook her head, closest to what? Silence stretched long enough to feel wrong. Sheriff Hale outside shifted near his horse, watching the window inside. Mary stepped back from the counter, breathing uneven. I need answers. The floor creaked softly like agreement, then asked the right question. Mary swallowed hard. What did you do to me? A pause like a held breath, then. The voice changed lower, almost human. I kept you alive long enough to remember. Mary froze. That doesn't make sense. It will. Outside, the sheriff spoke to himself quietly, unseen. She's closer than I thought. Mary heard nothing outside but felt it anyway. The house seemed smaller. Suddenly, what are you? She asked softly. The floor answered final and clear. What they buried first. Mary closed her eyes slowly. I don't remember any of it. That is why you are dangerous to them. The sheriff outside stepped closer to the porch. Mary opened her eyes again. I hear you now. The floor answered. It listens too. Mary waited until the ranch felt empty of footsteps. The morning had passed slow and gray, but now the light had turned thin and uncertain, slipping off the boards like it no longer belonged there. She moved through the hallway with no clear plan, only the pull of something under the house that had grown stronger since dawn. The whisper had not spoken all day, but its silence felt like pressure against her skin. You're close, it had said earlier, and then nothing. Mary stopped near the back storage room. The floor there was older, darker, slightly uneven, as if something beneath it had shifted too many times. She knelt and pressed her fingers to the wood. Cold. Too cold. Show me, she whispered. No answer came from above. Only from below. Here. Mary pulled a rusted hook from the wall and used it to pry at a loose board. It resisted at first, then gave with a dry crack. Dust rose in a thick breath, filling her lungs. She coughed, waved it away, then pulled again. Another board shifted. Then another. A dark opening appeared beneath her, swallowing the weak light. Mary leaned closer. Is someone there? The answer came instantly. You're finally looking. Her throat tightened. Where are you? Below. She lowered herself onto her knees, gripping the edge of the floor. The air rising from the gap smelled old, metallic, wrong. What are you? She asked. A pause, then softer. Something they didn't finish. Mary swallowed. I don't understand. You will when you come down. Her hand shook. Why me? Silence stretched. Then the voice changed, almost sad. Because you opened the door once already. Footsteps outside broke the moment. Mary froze. Sheriff Hale's voice cut through the air from the porch. Mary. She turned slightly. I'm inside. The floor beneath her creaked once, like warning. The sheriff entered the room without waiting. His eyes moved quickly to the open boards. What are you doing? Mary stood too fast. Fixing something. He stepped closer. You don't fix what's buried. Her chest tightened. I didn't find anything. His gaze dropped to the hole. That wasn't there yesterday. Mary forced her voice steady. Boards rot. He crouched slightly, staring into the dark opening. Don't open that further. Why? She asked. His jaw tightened. Because what's inside isn't meant to be found. Mary stepped closer to him now. There's a child inside. The silence that followed was immediate and sharp. The sheriff didn't look at her at first. Then slowly, no, Mary shook her head. Yes. His voice dropped. You're hearing things. From the hole below, a whisper rose again. He's lying. Mary's breath broke slightly. Sheriff Hale looked up sharply. Who are you talking to? Mary hesitated. No one. The floor creaked again, louder this time. The sheriff stood. You're imagining voices in an old house. Mary's hands curled into fists. Then why does it know my name? His expression tightened, but his tone stayed controlled. Names stick in places like this. She pointed at the floor. It said I buried it. A flicker crossed his face, gone quickly. Enough. Mary stepped back. What is down there? He moved closer, voice lower now. Nothing, you need to wake up. The wind outside pressed hard against the walls. The house seemed to lean inward. Mary whispered, I heard it breathing. The sheriff stared at her for a long moment. Then you stop listening. From beneath the floor, the final whisper came, faint but certain. He knows what he did. Mary looked at the sheriff, searching his face for something human. He didn't move. Only his eyes tightened, as if holding back memory. The floor beneath them creaked again, slower now, deliberate. Mary stepped back, whispering no under her breath. The sheriff finally spoke, quiet and cold. Walk away from it, Mary, he said without looking at her, and stepped toward the door again. Night returned to the ranch like something unfinished crawling back into place. Mary stood in the storage room long after Sheriff Hale had left, staring at the broken floorboards. His warning still echoed in her chest, but it didn't stop her hands. She waited until the house went quiet again, until even the wind outside felt distant. Then she knelt. The rusted lock beneath the boards looked older than anything else in the house, thick with time and refusal. You shouldn't have waited this long, the voice said from below. Mary flinched but didn't move away. I didn't know what I was waiting for. The answer came instantly. You did. She gripped the tool tighter and forced the lock to turn. Metal screamed softly, then gave. The opening widened like a wound remembering itself. Cold air rose up, heavier than before. Tell me what happened, Mary whispered into the dark. A long silence followed. Then, you were scared. She swallowed hard. Of what? The pause deepened. Him. Mary's breath stopped. The sheriff? A shift below, like something nodding in the dark. You called him father. Mary stepped back so fast she hit the wall. No. That's not possible. The voice didn't change. Yes. Her voice cracked. I never had a child. The floor answered softer now, almost mournful. You left me breathing. Mary shook her head, covering her mouth. That's not real. That's not, you ran, the voice cut in. You left when the house was still warm. Footsteps echoed faintly outside, but she didn't move. Why would I do that? She whispered. The answer came slower. Because he told you to forget. Mary froze. The word lingered too long. What did he do? The silence beneath her stretched, then returned heavier. He made you believe I wasn't yours. Mary's hands trembled against the floor edge. Who are you? She asked. The voice rose closer now, almost pressing against the wood. I am what you tried not to remember. Her eyes filled, but she didn't blink. Say it, she whispered. Say what you are. The answer came like a final breath under pressure. I am your child. Mary staggered back, hitting the wall again, shaking her head. No, I don't remember. The floor creaked softly, like something reaching upward. That is why it hurts. Mary slid down to her knees, whispering through broken breath. What did he make me do? The voice softened. You left me breathing in the dark and called it mercy. Outside, the ranch wind shifted again, sharper now, almost like listening. Mary pressed her forehead to her hands. "I didn't want this," she whispered. "I didn't want any of it." The voice answered one last time, steady and close. "But you did it anyway." Mary stayed on the floor long after the voice fell silent, staring at the broken boards as if they might speak again. Her hands trembled in her lap. The house felt too quiet, like it was holding something back. She whispered, "I don't know what's real anymore," but the words disappeared into the room. A sharp knock hit the front door. "Sheriff Hale." "Mary, open it." His voice was firm now. She stood slowly and walked toward the sound, then stopped halfway, looking back at the hole in the floor. It felt like it was watching her. A faint breath rose from below. "Don't trust him," it said. Mary closed her eyes for a second. What did he make me forget? No answer came. The knocking came again. "Mary." She reached the door and opened it. He stood there, face tight, eyes scanning her. "You're not well," he said. Mary looked at him carefully. "Tell me about her." His expression flickered. "There is no her," he said. Mary shook her head. "That's not what I heard." Silence stretched between them. From inside the house, faint and broken, the voice returned once more. "You left me breathing." Mary's breath caught. The sheriff's eyes shifted toward the sound, then back to her. "You need rest," he said, softer now. Mary whispered, "What did I do?" The wind pushed hard against the porch, like something waiting just beyond the walls, and the cold wind morning came gray again, like the sky refused to commit to light. Mary hadn't slept. She stood in the small office room of the ranch, where old records were kept in a warped wooden cabinet. The sheriff's words still clung to her thoughts, but they didn't settle anymore. Nothing did. She pulled the drawer open. Dust. Papers. Faded ink. "Don't dig," the voice said, faint now, almost tired. Mary didn't answer. She kept reading. Names. Women's names. Dates that didn't line up. One page after another, the same pattern. Unstable, one report said. Hallucinations. Removed for safety. Mary's fingers slowed. "Removed how?" she whispered. The paper didn't answer. But the room did. They were quiet after, the voice said from somewhere under memory itself. Mary leaned closer to the page. Quiet how? Silence. Then, like they were never there. She flipped another file open. Another name. Another woman. Same ranch. Same sheriff's signature. Her breath started to change. Shorter. Faster. "This can't be real," she said out loud. The voice responded immediately. "It is." Mary stepped back from the desk. "All of them?" A pause. Then, "All of them." The words hit harder than she expected. She pressed a hand to the wall. "How many?" she whispered. The floor creaked beneath her, even in this room. The voice answered through it. "More than you want to count." Mary's voice broke slightly. "What did he do to them?" The answer came slower this time. "He made them forget before they disappeared." A silence settled in the room. Thick. Pressing. Mary shook her head. "No. That's not possible." A new sound came from outside the office door. Footsteps. Slow. Controlled. Sheriff Hale. Mary froze, closing the folder too quickly. The door opened before she could speak. "You're digging again," he said calmly. Mary stood straight. "These records are real." His eyes dropped to the cabinet. "Old paper lies better than people do." She held his gaze. "It has your name on every one." A flicker passed across his face, gone quickly. "You don't understand what you're reading." Mary stepped forward. "Then explain it." He didn't answer immediately. He looked around the room instead. Like the walls were listening. Then, some women break easier than others. Mary's jaw tightened. You broke them. A pause. Then he smiled slightly. Not warm. Not kind. You're hearing stories from dead ink. From beneath the house, faint but clear, the voice returned. They called us mothers too. Mary's breath caught. She turned slightly, as if she could see through the floor. Sheriff Hale noticed. His voice lowered. You still hearing it? Mary didn't answer. The sheriff stepped closer. Mary, there's nothing under this house but dirt. The voice came again, stronger now. He buried us all the same way. Mary looked at him. How many women died here? His expression hardened. They didn't die, he said. Mary's voice sharpened. Then where are they? A long pause. The sheriff answered quietly. They disappeared. Mary didn't blink. That's the same thing. Something shifted in his face at that. A fraction of emotion he didn't fully control. The room felt tighter suddenly. Mary whispered, You did this. The sheriff's voice dropped. You don't know what you're saying. From below, the voices overlapped now. Not one. Many. She found us. She's remembering. He tried to erase us. Mary pressed her hands against the desk, steadying herself. Stop, she whispered. The sheriff stepped closer, voice sharp now. Mary, listen to me. She didn't look at him. How many? He hesitated. That hesitation answered more than words. Mary slowly lifted her head. You did it to all of them. His voice turned cold again. You're confusing history with imagination. Mary shook her head. No. I'm remembering. The floor creaked under her feet like agreement. The sheriff stared at her for a long moment. Then quietly, almost warning her. You should stop listening to things that live below you. Mary whispered back, steady now despite the shaking in her hands. Or maybe I should start listening to what you buried above it. The silence that followed felt like something deciding what to do next. The ranch felt different after the records. Not louder. Not darker. Just aware, like the walls had learned her thoughts and were waiting for her next one. Mary didn't go outside. She went back to the broken floor in the storage room instead, where the board stayed half lifted like a mouth that refused to close. She knelt slowly. The air below was colder than before. Say my name, the voice came immediately. Mary closed her eyes briefly. I don't know it. A pause. Then softer, almost disappointed. You're close again. She swallowed. Why does it matter? The floor creaked once, like a breath taken too deep. Because I won't stay if I'm nothing. Mary leaned forward slightly. You're already something. No, it answered. I'm what was left after they took everything else. A silence followed. Outside, a horse shifted somewhere near the fence. Wind dragged along the boards of the house. Mary whispered, Do you remember your name? The answer came slower now. I remember being called nothing. Mary's throat tightened. That's not a name. It is when no one stops it. She pressed her hand against the floor edge. Then I'll give you one. The voice paused. A long pause. Like the entire space was listening. Make it real, it said finally. Mary hesitated. Her breath felt too loud in the room. I don't know what you were supposed to be. The voice replied instantly. Neither did he. That name landed heavier than the rest. Mary shook her head. Don't bring him into this. The floor creaked again, closer now. He is already inside it. Mary shut her eyes. I can't think with you both talking at once. A softer tone returned from below. Then think with me only. She exhaled slowly. You want a name? Yes. Mary stayed silent for a long moment. The house creaked once somewhere far away, like it was adjusting its weight. Then she whispered, Anna. Everything stopped. Even the wind. Even the faint shifting under the boards. Anna, the voice repeated slowly. Mary opened her eyes. Is that wrong? Another pause. Then something changed in the tone below. Not joy exactly. Not sadness. Recognition. I like it, the voice said. Mary's shoulders dropped slightly, like she had been holding herself up for too long. It feels strange saying it. It feels like mine, Anna replied. Mary hesitated. Do you remember it now? I remember you saying it. Mary's chest tightened. That's not memory. It's the start of it. A faint creak moved through the boards, softer this time. Almost like settling. Mary whispered, Anna, how long were you here before I came back? The answer came slower. Long enough to stop counting. Mary pressed her forehead briefly to her hand. I'm sorry. The voice didn't respond immediately. Then, you used to say that. Mary's breath caught. When? Silence again. Then a faint shift under the floor. Before you left. Mary swallowed hard. I don't remember leaving. You will, Anna said softly. Footsteps outside broke the moment. Heavy. Fast. Sheriff Hale's voice came sharp from the yard. Mary. She stood immediately, wiping her face instinctively like that would erase everything. Stay here, she whispered down. The voice answered instantly. He's coming. Mary backed away from the floorboards, heart tightening. Sheriff Hale stepped into the doorway seconds later. His eyes moved straight to the open boards. You're doing it again, he said. Mary forced calm into her voice. I was just cleaning. His gaze stayed fixed on the hole. You opened it further. Mary stepped between him and the floor without thinking. It's just old wood. His eyes lifted slowly to hers. You're not listening to me. Mary's voice sharpened. I am listening. That's the problem. A pause. Then his tone lowered. You don't know what you're inviting up. From beneath them, faint but clear. He's scared of you remembering. Sheriff Hale's jaw tightened slightly. Mary didn't look away from him now. Why does this place react to me? He stepped closer. Because you're alone too long. The voice below whispered again. He's lying. Mary whispered back without realizing it, I know. The sheriff noticed her lips move. What did you say? Mary straightened. Nothing. A silence stretched between them, tight and uneven. Then Sheriff Hale spoke quietly. You should stop digging into things that were already buried for a reason. Mary's voice came steady now, but low. Or maybe they were buried because someone didn't want them heard. For a second, something in his expression shifted. Not fear. Control. Then it was gone again. He turned slightly toward the door. Stay out of the cellar, he said. Mary didn't answer. As he left, the wind outside rose briefly, pushing against the ranch like something testing its edges. And beneath Mary's feet, Anna spoke one last time, soft but certain. He's afraid I'll remember everything. Sheriff Hale returned to the ranch before sunrise, not like a visitor this time, but like someone reclaiming territory. His boots struck the porch hard, deliberate. Mary was already awake, standing near the kitchen table, waiting without knowing she was waiting. The house felt tense, as if it had already heard him coming. The door opened without knocking. You opened it, he said immediately. Mary didn't move. Yes. His eyes flicked past her toward the storage room. I told you not to. I stopped listening, she replied. that landed between them like a dropped object in a quiet room. He stepped inside fully now, closing the door behind him. "You don't understand what you've done." Mary's voice stayed level. "I understand enough." A pause. Then he moved faster than before, grabbing her arm. Not rough enough to break, but firm enough to remind. "This house survives because of me," he said. Mary looked down at his hand, then up at his face. "No. It feeds because of you." His grip tightened slightly. "Careful." From beneath the floor, faint but sharp, "Don't believe him." Mary didn't flinch. The sheriff noticed her stillness. "Who are you talking to?" Mary answered without thinking. "Something you buried." His expression hardened. "There is nothing under this house." Mary let out a short, cold breath. "Then why are you afraid of it?" A silence stretched. The kind that didn't feel empty anymore. Then Sheriff Hale released her arms slowly, as if deciding something. "You've been alone too long," he said again, softer this time. Mary shook her head. "Stop saying that." He studied her face carefully now. "You think this is about voices? About stories?" Mary stepped back slightly. "It is." His voice dropped lower. "It's about control." That word changed the air. Mary frowned. "Whose control?" A pause. Then he said it. "Mine." The room went still. Even the house seemed to listen harder. Mary whispered, "Over what?" Sheriff Hale didn't answer immediately. He walked a slow half-circle around her instead, like measuring distance. "Then, over what stays forgotten." Mary turned to face him fully now. "What did you do here?" His jaw tightened. "You think you're the first to ask me that," he said quietly. From the floor, Anna's voice came clearer than before. "Tell her." Mary didn't look down, but her voice changed. "How many women?" The sheriff exhaled slowly. "You're imagining patterns." Mary shook her head. "Don't do that. Don't talk around it." A long pause. Then he spoke, controlled but colder now. "This ranch has always had problems with women who don't settle." Mary's eyes narrowed. "That's not an answer." He stepped closer again. "It is the only one that matters." Mary's voice rose slightly. "You took them." Silence. Then, finally, he said it. "You couldn't keep her." The words hit like something physical. Mary froze. "What did you say?" His gaze didn't move. "You were unstable." Mary's breath broke slightly. "No." "You were grieving," he continued. "You were dangerous." Mary shook her head harder now. "Stop." His voice stayed even. "You buried her in your mind because you couldn't carry her." Mary stepped back until the table hit her legs. "That's not real." From beneath the floor, Anna's voice cut through, sharper now. "He took her from you." Mary whispered, "No." Sheriff Hale continued, voice tightening. "You tried to hold on to something that wasn't survivable." Mary's hands shook. "I didn't have a child." A pause. Then he said it quieter. "She would have ruined everything." That sentence did not belong in the room. It belonged somewhere colder. Mary stared at him. "You said what?" The sheriff's expression shifted slightly, like a mask slipping for half a second. Then it hardened again. "You were going to break," he said. "You already were." Mary's voice turned sharp. "So you erased her?" His silence answered before he did. From the floorboards, Anna's voice rose, no longer soft. "He buried me alive." Mary's knees weakened slightly, but she stayed standing. "That's not possible." Sheriff Hale stepped closer again, voice low and final. "She would have exposed everything." Mary looked at him, something breaking in her expression. "You didn't save me," she whispered.
You controlled me.
His eyes didn't soften.
I kept you functional.
That word made something inside her snap into place.
Functional. Not healed. Not whole. Functional.
Mary's voice dropped.
How many others did you fix?
For the first time, something like irritation crossed his face.
Enough, he said. From beneath the floor, Anna spoke again, louder now. He does it to all of us. Mary finally looked toward the floor. All of you? Multiple voices answered now, layered and overlapping. We were here. We were not sick. He made us quiet. Sheriff Hale stepped back slightly, eyes narrowing. Stop listening to that.
Mary turned slowly back to him.
It's not just one voice. His jaw tightened. It never is with people like you.
Mary stepped forward now, voice steady again.
People like me?
He looked at her directly.
Women who remember things that never happened. A silence.
Then Mary spoke clearly.
No.
She glanced down at the floor.
I remember things you buried.
From beneath, Anna's voice returned, calm now.
She's choosing us.
Sheriff Hale's voice sharpened.
Mary, step away from that floor. Mary didn't move. Instead, she whispered, What did you do to my child? That question finally broke his calm. Just slightly.
And in that fraction of hesitation, everything underneath the ranch seemed to wake up at once. The ranch felt crowded now, even when no one moved through it. Mary stood near the broken floorboards, but she wasn't alone in the way she used to be. The air itself seemed layered, like breath stacked on breath, waiting for permission to speak.
Sheriff Hale stayed near the doorway, watching her without stepping closer.
His silence was no longer calm.
It was controlled. Mary didn't look at him.
They're still here.
A pause.
Then the floor answered for her.
We never left. Mary's fingers tightened at her sides. I can hear more than one now. Sheriff Hale's voice cut in immediately. You're not hearing anything real.
Mary finally turned her head slightly.
Then explain why it's multiplying. He didn't answer.
From beneath the boards, the voices shifted, no longer singular, no longer contained.
We were here before the lies. We were here before him.
We were here when you forgot. Mary stepped back slowly, breath tightening.
How many of you are there? The answer came together, layered like one thought spoken through many mouths. All of us. Mary's throat tightened. All of who? A pause.
Then softer, almost aching.
All of the ones he buried. Sheriff Hale moved forward slightly now. Stop feeding it attention.
Mary snapped her gaze to him.
It's not an it. That word landed heavier than anything before.
From the floor, Anna's voice rose first, clear and steady.
She knows us now.
Then another voice followed.
She's remembering us. Then another. He tried to silence all of us the same way.
Mary pressed her hand against her chest, breathing uneven.
I didn't know any of this.
The voices responded immediately.
You were made not to know. Sheriff Hale's tone sharpened. Mary, listen to me. That thing under there is confusion. Trauma. Nothing more.
Mary looked at him directly now.
Then why does it know your fear? That stopped him for half a second.
From below, the voices shifted again, rising stronger.
He fears what we say together. He fears we agree.
He fears we remember him clearly.
Sheriff Hale stepped forward again, voice low and firm. You don't know what you're doing.
Mary's voice was quieter now.
I think I finally do.
The boards beneath her creaked softly, like agreement.
Then Anna spoke again, closer than before. He can't bury us anymore. Mary exhaled slowly. All of you were here at the same time? A pause, then overlapping answers. Yes. We watched each other disappear. He called it treatment. He called it control. Mary's face tightened. And you're all connected? The voices responded as one. We became one when we stopped being allowed to speak alone. Sheriff Hale's jaw clenched. This is dangerous thinking. Mary turned sharply. No. Dangerous was what you did here. Silence dropped. Heavy.
Then Sheriff Hale said quietly, "You're not the first to accuse me of things you can't prove." Mary's voice didn't rise.
It steadied. I don't need proof anymore. That shift changed the room again.
From beneath, the voices softened, almost relieved. She's not afraid now.
She sees him. She sees us too. Sheriff Hale's expression tightened. Mary, this is your mind breaking. Mary shook her head. No. She looked down at the floor fully now.
It's yours losing control.
The sheriff stepped closer, voice dropping into warning. Step away from that hole. Mary didn't move.
Instead, she spoke softly downward.
Are you all still there? The answer came immediately. We never stopped. Sheriff Hale's voice sharpened. Mary. She raised a hand slightly without looking at him. Wait. Then she whispered again. Tell me everything.
The voices responded without hesitation.
We were taken one by one. We were called unstable. We were made to forget each other.
He made sure no one spoke the same truth twice.
Mary's breath tightened. Why? A pause. Then Anna answered. Because together we would remember him correctly. Sheriff Hale's voice broke through, louder now. Enough. But Mary didn't look at him.
Did you ever think we'd talk back? She asked quietly.
From the floor, the voices rose in unison. Yes. But not like this. Sheriff Hale stepped forward again, anger breaking through his control. Mary, this ends now. Mary finally turned to him fully. No, she said. It starts now. That sentence shifted everything.
Even the air felt different after it. The voices beneath rose again, stronger, no longer scattered.
She's opening it. She's choosing us. He can't stop it anymore. Sheriff Hale's face tightened. You don't understand what you're unleashing. Mary looked down once more. I think I do. Then she looked back at him. And I think you're afraid of it. For the first time, he didn't respond immediately.
The silence stretched. From below, Anna's voice returned, calm but certain.
He knows we're not separate anymore. Mary whispered, What does that mean? The answer came slowly. We remember together now. Sheriff Hale stepped back slightly, something finally shifting in his posture. Not fear exactly. Recognition. Mary saw it.
And for the first time, she didn't feel alone in the house at all. Night settled over the ranch without warmth, like it had been forced into place. Mary stood near the broken floorboards again, but now she carried something she hadn't held before.
A lantern.
The flame inside it flickered with every breath of wind moving through the cracks in the house. Sheriff Hale stood behind her in the doorway, watching without speaking, like he already knew what she was deciding.
The voices beneath were not quiet anymore.
They waited, present in layers.
End it, one of them said.
Mary tightened her grip on the lantern handle.
And what? The answer came together, many voices becoming one thought. The house. The silence. Him. Sheriff Hale stepped forward slightly. Mary, put that down. She didn't turn. Why?
His voice hardened.
Because you don't understand consequences.
From below, Anna spoke clearly.
She understands now. Mary finally looked down at the broken floor. If I burn it, what happens to you? A pause. Then softer. We go with it.
Her hand trembled slightly.
And if I don't?
The voices shifted, colder now.
He walks free. Sheriff Hale's expression sharpened. You're listening to something that isn't real.
Mary turned her head slowly toward him.
Then why does it know your fear? A beat of silence. He didn't answer.
From the floor, the voices rose again, overlapping. He buried us in silence.
He buried the truth in the wood.
He made this place forget itself.
Mary lifted the lantern slightly, watching the flame move. I don't want to hurt anyone else.
Anna's voice answered immediately.
You already lived the part where you did. That sentence hit deeper than the rest. Mary swallowed. I don't remember it. Sheriff Hale stepped closer. Because it didn't happen. Mary turned fully toward him now.
Or because you made sure I couldn't.
His jaw tightened. You're confused. Mary shook her head. No. I'm remembering pieces you don't control anymore. A long silence followed.
Then Sheriff Hale said quietly, "No one will believe you." Mary stared at him.
Say it again, she said.
His eyes narrowed slightly.
You're just a maid in an old house hearing things under stress.
Mary nodded slowly, like she was accepting something. Then she looked at the floor.
They will believe me. From below, the voices responded as one. Yes. Sheriff Hale stepped forward again, voice rising. Mary, stop this. You're not thinking clearly.
Mary finally raised the lantern higher.
I've never thought more clearly.
The wind outside pressed harder against the ranch, rattling the windows. Sheriff Hale's voice sharpened.
You don't have authority here. Mary's expression didn't change.
No, she said softly.
But I have memory. A pause.
The sheriff's tone shifted slightly.
You're just a maid.
Mary held his gaze.
No, she repeated. I'm a witness. That word changed the air in the room. From beneath the floor, Anna spoke again. She remembers all of us now. Mary looked down. If I burn this place, will the truth survive?
The voices answered without hesitation.
Yes. Because it's not in the wood.